I'm Olivia Calderon, Legislative Director with the Asset Building Program in California at the New America Foundation. And today we had an event at the state capitol declaring February Step Up California Month. With a slew of organizations, interfaith-based advocacy groups, other policy institutes, we came together in a bipartisan way with Assemblywoman Connie Conway, Assemblymember Jim Bell, Assemblymember Jerry Hill, and other colleagues to declare in a bipartisan way that we have to step up to end poverty here in California, because not one organization can do it alone. It's going to take a collaborative effort. After the press conference, we had a simulation in the Capitol, a day in their shoes. We had Capitol staff and legislators went through playing the role of what a struggling family faces day after day here in California. And I'm sitting here today with legislative staffers to get their thoughts. What did you experience through the simulation? More importantly, what did you expect going into it? And what would you like to see coming out of the simulation? I'm sitting here with Francis Chacon, consultant with the Assembly Human Services Committee, Michelle Cabrera, consultant with the Assembly Human Services Committee, and Bryn Sullivan, consultant with the California Legislative Women's Caucus, who's also a co-sponsor of this event. Ladies, anyone can start. Feel free. Jump in.
Go ahead. Well, I was just, I thought it was great that we were prepped and told to really try to get into character. And I know that in our little subgroup, we all really committed to our roles. I played the role of a 17-year-old boy, high school dropout, with a baby on the way, and so the familial tensions were really highlighted. When you're living in poverty, there's a lot of stress associated with just basic daily living functions, and I think that the simulation really helped to highlight in a real hands-on way what the smallest things can do to aggravate an already difficult situation. So it was really helpful.
Francis, was that your experience as well?
Definitely. I mean, going into it, I thought it wasn't going to be as real as this income level, a family with challenges, and then along the way you'd be given more challenges, like your child broke a tooth, you now have to pay $40 to fix it, and you're juggling all these things. You don't have a stable income. You have transportation issues, you have childcare issues, your child has a minimum day. How are you going to cover that? You're looking for a new job, your husband loses his job. It's very difficult.
Right. We had a debriefing session following the simulation, and you, Bryn, were in my debriefing session. I think what Francis has said was echoed in that session. Is there anything you would add to that?
No, I was just surprised how many people live paycheck to paycheck, but how quickly the money goes with the bills and food stamps, and you have to, how busy you are to try to secure all these sources of income, of resources for your family, how quickly it goes and how challenging it is to actually secure them.
Absolutely. I went through the simulation, and I was playing the role of a middle-aged father, and I was the only one employed in our household. The money coming in and bills, constant bills going out, paycheck to paycheck, and just when you thought you got it together,
right?
You had another family emergency, and there are so many factors that you don't know what's going to be coming your way. You mentioned, Francis, that you and Michelle said that you did not expect that it was going to feel so real. There were legislators in the room, and this has been a bipartisan effort. At the press conference, Assemblymember Anthony Adams and Connie Conway expressed their desire for folks to recognize that poverty and folks struggling, that it's not a Republican issue and it's not a Democratic issue, that all families are experiencing the hurt. We know that we're going into a $20 billion budget deficit, and you both are consultants to the Human Services Committee. What are your thoughts? What would you like, in terms of folks coming out of this and recognizing that? In your legislative roles, what would you like to see come out of this experience for the members that were in the room?
Well, I think that because it brings such a real perspective to some of the decisions that are put before them. They can put real faces and actually names to it, and they were in that role. And actually, for some of the legislators, they mentioned that they had been on food stamps. So I think it brought back some of those memories, and that, you know what, behind that $20 billion, when they make those decisions to make cuts, that they'll actually be able to put faces to them. You know, it'll feel more real. And it might change the type of vote, or it might change the amount that they cut.
Right.
A decision to shift funds from some other program.
Michelle, would you agree with that?
Completely. I mean, we get very caught up in sort of the technicalities around some of these policy decisions, the numbers, and the simulation was really effective in helping us to walk in someone else's shoes for, you know, a couple of hours. You know, you extrapolate that out to a whole lifetime, and folks have been talking a lot about sort of the new poor, folks who are recently, you know, affected by the downturn in the economy. But, you know, I really was going to, what about the chronically poor, people who, you know, prior to the recession were feeling the effects of, you know, just cycles of poverty. So it's just, you know, it was a good reminder. It's a good way to humanize the issue.
Right.
And again, to your point, it's not that folks here may not have experienced firsthand what it's like to live in poverty. Lots of folks who do this work do it for the right reasons and are passionate because, you know, they have humble beginnings themselves. But it's a great reminder, and frankly, it's a way to have fun doing it. I mean, you know,
Right.
I don't
Right.
think there's anything wrong with raising awareness in a way that's also fun. So.
We wrapped up the simulation with conversations about next steps. And we're given a handout regarding the resolution that was introduced that's going to be heard in your committee, and one of you will be analyzing that resolution. And then the work moving forward. Is there anything in particular that you think the organizations that partnered together in this collaborative way to come forward and declare February 2010 and February 2011 Step Up California month that you would like to see moving forward? Where could we add the most value, both organizationally and here in the legislature?
Well, I think to continue to bring awareness on all levels is very important. You know, like you said, it humanizes the issue to some people who, you know, sit in an office all day and don't do these things. And so I think that's, you know, always important.
You know, and I think too, because there was so much crossover with different issues, that bringing in staff, not just staff who work on human services, but, you know, the transportation consultants, or, you know, trying to figure out sort of other ways that different policy areas intersect with poverty and the lives of people in poverty. I think that would be an interesting sort of banking and finance committee. We all had interactions with the payday loan folks, and so, you know, just sort of broadening the net and not making poverty just a human services issue. It's not just about us, you know.
Oh, Michelle, that is absolutely right. You know, when I went to go cash my paycheck, I went to the bank and they said, you don't have a bank account. And I said, well, can I open one? And the banker said, well, you don't have the minimum balance to open up a bank account. And I said, can I have a free bank account? She says, no, well, but if you want to open one, it'll cost you $50. And I'm looking at my $310 that I made that week, and I can either open up this account for $50, but then she said, if I don't open it, she'll charge me $20 just to cash my check.
Right.
And I thought, well, let me open up this bank account, because I know that I'm going to have to be coming week after week after week to cash my paycheck. So I did.
Well, that was a smart sacrifice. I mean, I think that's another thing that the simulation highlights is how expensive it is to be poor. Everything costs more. Everything costs more. So that's another really, you know, unique part about this.
Well, we're going to be working together, and I'm thrilled. I'm so glad that you went through the simulation, and thank you so much for partnering with us to do this. Poverty, it's a big problem, and we can't do it alone. We have to work together. If you have any last thoughts.
I was going to thank New America Foundation for being the impetus behind putting this on, and the people who did put it on, Step Up California, they did a fantastic job. So
yeah, and thank you to the community volunteers who donated their time to come in and help us out.
Well, thank you so much. And again, Olivia Calderon with the New America Foundation. And if you'd like more information on Step Up California and other asset building policies that we're advancing here in California, I invite you to visit www.newamerica.net. Thanks.